Time to talk about the Amazon. No, not you, Lucy Loveless. You can go back to being an obscure 90s reference. Well, anyway, the Amazons. Far to the east, along the banks of River Thermodon, lived the mythical race of the Amazons in the town of Themyscira. Founded by Otriri, the first queen of the Amazons and the demigod child of Ares, the god of war, and nymph Harmonia, the Amazons were a race of warrior women. The origin of the word Amazon is uncertain. It may be derived from an Iranian ethnonym, Hamazan, which means warriors. Among the ancient Greeks, the term Amazon was believed to originate from Amazos, meaning breastless. They believed that Amazon women would ceremoniously cut off one of their breasts because it would, get in the way when they were shooting arrows, which sounds pretty much exactly what men would think. The Amazons were incredibly efficient and the first to fight on horseback. When they conquered the people, they would choose the men they deemed would father the strongest daughters and breed with them. After they fulfilled their purpose, the men were swiftly killed. They either abandoned or killed any male babies born out of these unions and only allowed the girls to live and join their tribe. This definitely may sound jarring, but I'm sure that if one were to challenge the mythical version of the Amazons on it, they would swiftly point out the hypocrisy. As in the ancient world, many female babies would be left on mountainsides and women would be used only for childbearing or to simply please and obey. Across the wide breadth of Greek mythology, very little is said about them. They are never the protagonists of myths, but are usually background characters in primarily male-led myths. In this male narrative, the fierce Amazon warriors are usually defeated and conquered. But let's see some examples. Heracles, as part of one of his 12 labors, had to steal the sacred belt of Queen Hippolyte, gifted to her by Ares himself. Most versions of the myth indicate that Hippolyte was so impressed with him that she simply gave him the belt without an argument, perhaps whilst visiting him on his ship. Then, according to a version of the myth, Hera, turning herself into one of the Amazons, spread a rumor among them that Heracles and his crew were abducting their queen. So the Amazons attacked the ship. In the battle that followed, Heracles slew Hippolyte, stripped her of her belt, fought off the attackers, and sailed away. In another myth, Queen Hippolyte was abducted by Theseus, who took her to Athens, made her his wife, and she bore him a son, Hippolytus. In other versions, the kidnapped Amazon is called Antiope and is the sister of Hippolyte. In revenge, the Amazons invade and plunder cities across the coast of Athens and besiege and occupy Athens itself. There is also a mention of the Amazons in the Iliad and their contribution to the Trojan War. An Amazon force under Queen Penthesilea came to join the ranks of the Trojans after Hector's death and initially put the Greeks under serious pressure. It was only after the greatest effort and the help of Achilles that the Greeks eventually triumphed. Penthesilea died fighting the mighty Achilles in single combat. What is important to highlight, though, is that despite inhabiting myths, the Amazon tribe was absolutely real. Archeology has now proven without a doubt that there really were warrior women fitting the description that the Greeks gave of Amazons. Archaeologists have been digging up thousands of graves of people called Scythians. They were a people whose women fought, hunted, rode horses, and used bows and arrows alongside the men. They also smoked weed. The historian Herodotus gives us a very good picture of that. He says that they sat around a campfire and threw plants onto the fire. They got high from the smoke and then would get up and dance and shout and yell with joy. Archaeologists are also finding proof of this in their graves. Every Scythian man and woman was buried with a hemp smoking kit, including a little charcoal brazier. Finally, The idea that Amazons abandoned, maimed, or killed young boys is a story that circulated among the Greeks because several writers assumed that Amazon societies must be women only. But they lived among men, and because they were a war tribe, they followed a very common custom among nomadic people called fosterage. They would send their sons to be raised by another tribe, which ensured that they're going to have good relations with that tribe. But what about the Amazon River in South America? Do the Amazons have something to do with that? Well, it depends on who you ask. According to colonial history, the name was reportedly given after native warriors attacked a 16th century expedition by Francisco de Orellana. The warriors were led by women, reminding de Orellana of the Amazon warriors. However, other scholars insist that the name is derived from the Native American word Amazona, meaning boat destroyer. And when it comes to colonialists versus native peoples, I tend to agree with the latter. Regardless, however, of reality or myth, the one thing we definitely know is that the Amazon spirit still exists, stronger than ever, inspiring and driving these Amazon warriors who are fighting their battles daily. See you next time.